Welcome to part 14 to our Galaxy Defiant Space Shooter series using components in Godot 4. In this video, we're going to be creating a new enemy type for our game, so that's going to be fun. Let's start by finding our enemy base scene. Oops, that's effects. We want to come into... Wait, didn't I have enemies? There we go. Click on enemy.tscn. We're going to right click, do new inherited scene, and we'll call this yellow enemy. Okay, now we have the benefit of inheriting a bunch of our components here and a bunch of the logic already for those components. So we don't have to reset up all of that, but we do need to set up some stuff on our enemy. Let's save this first inside of enemies. Here we go. And I'm going to come into our animated sprite. Let's create new sprite frames. And we'll find our assets yellow enemy right here. Open, and it looks like I only have 2 frames here. So we'll do vertically just 1 and horizontally 2. Select both frames. And the speed that we have this going at is going to be maybe 5. Let's just try 5 and see how it looks. It's a little fast. I'm going to set it to 4. So our enemy just kind of wobbles a bit. We're going to autoplay this so that we can see it playing right away. In our visibility screen notifier, I'm going to actually shrink this down just a bit so it fits with our enemy better. Doesn't have to be exact. There we go. Now our yellow enemy, it's going to have some stats. Let's give it 6 health. We'll want to increase its stats some. It has a move component. To start out, we'll have it move down with a speed of 10. So that's pretty slow moving down. The actor is already set to the yellow enemy because we inherited the scene, so that's good. The hitbox and hurtbox components should have their correct collision layer and mask, but we need to give them a shape still. Because not all enemies will have the same collision shape. So let's do that. Let's add a collision shape here to our hurtbox component. The hurtbox component is going to be bigger. I'm going to make this collision shape take up the entire, basically make it the same size as the visibility notifier. That. Our hitbox component is going to be smaller. I'm going to make it kind of the size of the inside of the enemy right here. Whoops, that is not what I wanted to do, but that's okay. We can make it work. Something like that, I think, will work. One of the things you can do is you could set your you can set the colors on collision shapes. So for the hitbox, you could set it to be like a red, just to help in the editor distinguish between the two. So the blue is like your hurt box, and then the red is like the hitbox, the thing your player wants to avoid. Okay, so we've set those up now. That's looking pretty good. Our score component, we want this enemy to give more score. We'll have it give, because it's going to have more health, so let's give it a score of 10. So it'll give more score to the player. Now we're going to come to our enemy generator. Remember that? Remember our enemy generator? Good old enemy generator. We're going to create a new node, or a new timer. And we'll call this yellow enemy spawn timer. And just like our other timer, we'll set this one's wait time to, we'll set it to 5. And then we'll turn on both auto start and one shot. Come into our code here. We'll get access to it right here. And then we can do what I talked about earlier when we first set this up, is we can do yellow enemy spawn timer dot timeout dot connect handle spawn dot bind, and then we need to get access to our yellow enemy. So let's export our yellow enemy scene as a packed scene. This, and we can then find our yellow enemy. Make sure you're doing the scene and not the sprite there. Then down here we can bind the yellow enemy scene and the yellow enemy spawn timer to our, we can bind those arguments to our handle spawn function here. So we should be able to create yellow enemies now in the scene. Let's see how it works. Let's run the game and see if we get some yellow enemies and see if they work correctly. There we go. There's a yellow enemy. It's moving down at us. Looks good. It does have more health than the green enemies. It takes more hits to kill them. But if you get them right on, it's definitely pretty fast still. Okay, well, let's, yeah. Yeah, that seems like it's taken 5 hits, right? That's what we set it to? Yellow enemy stats. Oh, we set it to 6. So I think it's working though. Like, we can double check this by setting it to like 100, just to make sure that the value is different. Now we just probably won't be able to kill the enemies. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so it's definitely working. Okay, let's set it back to 6 for the enemy stats. And, well, the only thing left to do with this enemy is to make its behavior slightly different from the green enemy. Because right now it's just slower and has more health, but I'd like to make it move from side to side. So the first thing we can do is we can right click on our yellow enemy, and then we can do extend script. And this will create a new yellow enemy script that inherits from enemies, from enemy right here. Although I noticed that it's using the path to that right now, and we don't actually want that. But if we come into our enemy and we give it a class name enemy like this, then in our yellow enemy script, instead of extending from the path, we can extend using enemy, which is the class name that we just created. Okay? And I generally prefer doing that. Now, we can get access to our move component right here. Well, first we'll want to call super. So this is an important discussion with inheritance. And whenever you're inheriting from another scene, if that scene has like a function inside of it, right? And then the child scene, in this case our yellow enemy that is inheriting from here, also has that function. If you call super, it will do everything in the parent. So it will do all of this stuff too. So it basically runs the ready function from the parent. And that allows us to make sure that we don't lose any of this logic that we had from the parent. But we can add some more logic to it right here. And what we're going to do is get access to, well, we already have access to the move component from the parent, right? Enemy here has access to move component. So all we need to do here is say move component dot velocity dot x. So we want it to move from side to side horizontally. And I'm going to just do an array here, minus 20. Well, okay, let's keep it very simple for now. We'll just set it to 20. So it's going to set the horizontal velocity to 20. That way, this enemy will move from side to side when it gets spawned inside of the room. We'll start moving to the right. And I'm going to be over here just to increase the chances that we'll be able to see this. Okay, so it might be moving to the right. So, oh, there we go. Now we can see it. There it goes. It moves to the right. But it just flies off the screen and then destroys itself. So we have a component that I made that can have it bounce off the edges of the screen. So we click on enemy, add here, and then we'll add border bounce component like this. and we need to assign an actor, which is our yellow enemy. And then we need to assign a move component, which is our move component. And then it has a margin here for the margin to bounce off the border. We'll just leave that at 8. Now, when we run the game, come over here. When the enemy reaches the edge of the screen on the right side, it should bounce. Yep, there it did it. And if it reaches the edge of the screen on the left side, it will also bounce. There we go. Border bounce component working. I'm pretty sure this one only does it horizontally. So keep that in mind. If you wanted it to bounce off the top and bottoms of the screen, you would need to extend the logic for this component. I did pretty heavily document it, so if you're interested in looking up how it works, you can check that out. And if you want to extend it to bounce off the top and bottom as well. The last thing we're going to do before we end this video is we want our enemy to not always go to the right. So one way that we can do this is we can do 20, we can do -20 here and 20 inside of these brackets to put these inside of an array, right? Now Godot's getting mad because it's like, well, you're trying to set the x value on a vector to an array, but it has to be a float. You can't do that. However, arrays have a function called pick random. So that will just pick a random value inside the array, which is going to be either -20 or 20. So we'll randomly pick between those two and then assign that to our velocity, or the x value of our velocity. So we can see that it will not always choose going to the right now. Some of them will go to the left, although it is random, so there's a chance that we could see that one maybe pick to the left. I don't know. It's really hard to tell whether they're just bouncing off the right first. Another thing that we can do is you'll notice that the game is, every time you run the game, the values that are generated are the same. And if we go into our world here, we can just call randomize right here. And what this will do is it will give us a new random seed to use. That way the game isn't the same every single time we run it. We get some variation in the way that the enemies are generated. That one clearly started going to the left. We can see that this is working. Perfect. Pretty happy with that. Hope you are as well and that you enjoyed this video. If you like my content, want to support it, consider purchasing one of my Godot courses. There'll be a link in the description. If you like the channel, like the video, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.